All right, you guys, welcome back to another episode of the Dental Marketing Secrets Podcast. My name is Mark Thackeray. I'm your host, and today I have a special guest with me. Brian MacKay joins me on the show, and we're going to talk a little bit about direct mail and the resurgence of direct mail and how it can benefit your practice. Brian, welcome to the show, man.
Hi, Mark. It's definitely a pleasure to be here. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I know we kind of batted around this idea for a little bit, so it's fun to have you jump on here and share your experience. I know we've already kind of talked before about some of that experience, and I think this will be really a good message. It's very relevant for a lot of practices because I don't think they think about it a lot. But before we get into the topic of direct mail, why don't you just take a minute or two and let's just hear your kind of background and your experience.
Yeah, so I actually, out of high school, went to college for marketing, was studying marketing. And, but after leaving college, I didn't go into a marketing related field at first. I really was kind of intrigued by the idea of healthcare. Um, and I started looking into the world of ophthalmology and optometry. And so I was a licensed certified optician for about 8 years. And during that time, I ended up, the practice I worked for, they have, I think, 9 practices now total. But I started coming up with the promotions for the optical and really just kind of found like, oh, this is actually why I went to school for marketing.
Yeah,
It's fun to actually put it into practical use and see a return from it. And so I
totally.
started handling all of the promotional work for this eye center. And at that time, I had decided to take more of a shift into actual marketing and marketing consulting, where I feel like my skills really were starting to bloom. And so with that, I got involved with dentalmarketing.net. It's a Utah company that had been around for quite some time, but they were acquired by Upswell Marketing in 2024. And it's been great. They've made it so that we can grow and have the tools that we need to provide our customers and clients with the best service possible and get them the best return on their investment. And so I've been doing that for a few years, pretty much exclusively dental because I have a healthcare background. My family is all healthcare as well, like either doctors or nurses, things like that. And so jumping into dental and seeing how similarly it actually operates and works to optometry and ophthalmology, it just felt right. And so I've really focused and specialized in dental marketing for the last few years now.
Awesome. Yeah, it's always fun to hear kind of how people get into what they're doing. I mean, it's never usually a very linear path sometimes, I mean, yours maybe a little bit more so than some of the others, but I mean, mine was, yeah, kind of different too. I studied international studies in college, and then my intent was to go into the foreign services, and I didn't pass one of the exams. And anyway, ended up starting my own thing. And that kind of led me to marketing, which has been so fun. And then, yeah, now in dental for probably over a decade now. So it's fun. It's just fun to kind of see where life takes you for sure.
Absolutely.
So yeah, Brian, why don't you tell me a few of I thought we'd just start out with a few success stories. I mean, we're going to be talking about direct mail, and it's so funny because I've had this conversation with a few people, especially since we talked, because you were sharing how it's been so effective for you. And I've had a couple of clients kind of, raise their eyebrow like, oh, that's still a thing, kind of thing. I mean, that still works. And I have seen it in the past where I've seen it work pretty well. So why don't you share some of those success stories that you're seeing with direct mail, and then we'll kind of get into the nitty gritty of the details of it. But yeah, what are you seeing on your end?
Yeah, absolutely. So what's great about direct mail is it's really effective for direct responses. And that's kind of just how we refer to it. It's a direct response marketing tactic. But it needs to be done well to be as effective as you'd want, like you've said, it has a resurgence. In my opinion, it's never gone away because it's worked
Yeah.
so well for the people who know how to do it. And
Yeah.
the key to direct mail is really the main thing is your targeting. A big thing that people hear about and talk about nowadays is EDDM, every door direct mail.
Yeah.
It's a USPS service that any business can use, and we do something similar, but on a more targeted approach. We're looking at individual postal carrier routes and their demographics. What's the household income? What's the percentage of homes in that neighborhood with children in it?
Yeah.
The home value, net worth, all sorts of things like that. And using a practice's customer database to, see where are they getting patients from already? Where are there going to be opportunities for neighbors to talk to each other and say, oh, I go to this practice. We got that same postcard. And
Yeah.
being able to make recommendations and referrals to their friends and neighbors. And so, and that's just a portion of it. But what we found is to be effective at direct mail, 40% of the results and traction that you get is going to come from your targeting and who you're mailing to when you're
Okay.
sending it to them. The other 40% of the response you get comes from the offers on the postcard, and how they're laid out. Is there a good hierarchy to it? Do they stand out? Are they appealing? And are they incentivizing and competitive in the area?
Yeah.
The other 20% is just the rest of what's on the card, the rest of the design, the pictures on it, the information, how it's laid out. But that's your smallest part of it. And so it's not always about trying to make it look the flashiest or things of that nature. It's really about setting it up in a way that we know is going to catch someone's eye within the first 3 seconds of them looking at a card as they're just going through their stack of mail that they pulled out of their box. And so the targeting is a lot of it. The other thing is, I'm sure that you have, and that everyone who listens to this has received direct mail, EDM. I get Subway coupons every month,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And most of the time, it's usually on a thin, flimsy, like newspaper-like or magazine-like type of paper, because that's the cheapest way to do it.
Yeah.
But it's usually not effective. What has really been by far and away the best performer when it comes to direct mail in the dental space, at least, is a 6x11 postcard, a jumbo-sized postcard.
Yeah.
We use 100-pound cardstock, the glossy finish on both sides, and something different from EDDM is it's individually labeled and with postage and the address information, whereas EDDM, it doesn't have that. We also like to use a lot of variable data where especially like new mover campaigns will put the family name, like welcome Johnston family, and it'll be printed in the design, not just the postage area. And so things like that really are what makes direct mail work and be effective.
Yeah. I mean, as you're talking about it, I first kind of want to hit on just what you mentioned. It's a direct response kind of mechanism, right? I mean, and for those that aren't familiar with that term, I mean, you're really trying to, it's kind of self-explanatory when you break it down. You're trying to direct the response to some predetermined, destination of sorts. I mean, you take like some of the bigger brands in the world, Coca-Cola and things like that. They generally don't have. It's not generally a direct response campaign. It's more of a branding campaign, awareness campaign, where they're just trying to kind of get as many touch points as possible without really saying, hey, you need to go to this store and buy a Coke, or here's an offer for a discount on a Coke or something like that. But this is what we really are trying to, generate some type of predetermined response with this campaign, and I'm a huge advocate of direct response. So I love that you said that. But the other thing that came to mind too, Brian, was just this idea of, I mean, what's nice as I'm thinking about it, because I was thinking about all the direct mail that we get, it was just not very much, these days. It seems like it's used to be a lot. Now it's not so much. It's a lot more with the home services type of industries where you get the roofers and things like that. But what's nice is that when you pick that up out of your mailbox and you see that, and especially a postcard, because you just see automatically you don't have to open anything. You're just kind of looking at it. It's you're not really in front of all your competitors at the same time. Like with the digital side, if someone searches, they're like, oh, dentist near me, and they're looking at it, you're seeing all the competitors right next to you, and so it's like, oh, it's kind of this shopping buffet almost experience for the consumer. Whereas with the direct mail, like it's pretty cool. Like you can it's like a siloed experience. And there might be another dentist in there occasionally at the same time if it's like one of those, like a Valpak or one of those magazines. But if it's just a postcard like you're talking about, chances are you're going to be the only one in there.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. You definitely stand out. And you mentioned Valpak, and that's one of my favorite examples. You know, you have to hope that someone's going to open an envelope, and you're probably going to be the 50th piece that's in there.
Yeah,
You got to
yeah,
hope that someone goes through it, and you
I
just
know.
never know.
Yeah,
And so, finding a way to really put yourself out there in a way that you're going to be seen and noticed is effective. And one thing I always like to say, and you kind of touched on this already, but good brand awareness still generates leads. Good lead generation still generates brand awareness. And so while our focus is bringing more patients in through the door, having them sit into your exam chair, so you can, present a treatment plan to them, that's the goal. But it still is creating a brand awareness effect. You're cementing and establishing your brand throughout these neighborhoods over time. And one of the biggest keys to direct mail is consistency. It works best over time. Neat little fact is most people have already seen a company's brand or logo image, something like that, on average 6 times before they even recognize it. They've already seen it a handful of times, and before their brain registers or remembers. And so, uh, making sure that you keep that in mind and have continual touch points over time is what really starts to build your and increase your response rates over time. You start getting more and more traction in areas that you've continually mailed with. Um, and it's really cool to see it grow, and people who understand the process and go through it, to see those practices really, suddenly they're needing to bring on a new associate, or
yeah.
they need to move to a bigger building with more chairs and things like that. And it's really fun to be a part of.
Yeah, I mean that is. I mean it really does. Yeah, it can be that targeted too, where it's not just general new patients, but it can be. Yeah, it could be different. I was as you were talking about that, I was just thinking of if I was, looking to increase the amount of, higher ticket or higher value procedures, Invisalign or veneers or anything cosmetic, then that could be a good option too. I mean, where it's a much more targeted approach, and if you have, like you said, the audience or the list properly curated for income level and family, or if you're going towards maybe a family or something like that, or just having those aligned, then it's going to make it a lot more likely to be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned, trying to you're not only going to get new patients, you are going to see an increase in those big ticket items that every dentist wants. They don't want to be just doing whitening
No
and kind
drill
of
and fill
the
all
basic
day.
bread and butter
Yeah.
stuff. They want to be doing the more exciting and intensive work. That's what they enjoy. And so, you're always going to have more traction with general new patients. Everyone needs a dentist. Maybe not everyone knows right away that they are a candidate for a procedure. Um, and so, but you have those people, especially on the cosmetic side, where they're just waiting for a good offer to come by so that they can pull the trigger and
Yeah.
get it done. Especially this time of year with tax season, a lot of our cosmetic dentists, this is their most profitable time of the year because we're putting stuff out, really all from the beginning of the year, building up through tax season, saying like, yeah, use your tax refund plus this discount. We'll give you a free consultation, all the good stuff.
Great
And
point.
it's really effective to target your audience at the right time and know, what the type of patient is you're trying to bring in.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense. So let me ask you this, Brian. So where does, in your mind, I know you work with lots of different clients and you guys do more than just direct mail too, but so where does direct mail fit into the, a marketing strategy for a dentist nowadays? I mean, if you're kind of putting yourself in their shoes, how does that all work with what they're either thinking about doing or what they might already be doing already? Sorry, I'm out of focus.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'll kind of start from maybe a new practice perspective, or a new doctor. Let's say you're opening up a new practice, and you're kind of starting from zero. Uh, where dental marketing kind of fits in, the best format is always going to be having an omni-channel approach. Having a physical presence, a digital presence, having them work together. But if let's say you're in a position where maybe you can't do direct mail and Google ad posts, or any social media marketing or anything or just anything on the digital side, like if you could only do one thing for now.
Yeah.
Um, then we always recommend direct mail because we know that can get patients into your door faster. We know it's going to generate a quick response, but as soon as you're able to, you want to have that digital marketing in place as well, because one thing that you want, that a dentist or a practice owner manager wants to make sure and avoid, is marketing for their competition. And that's where direct mail really coincides with your digital marketing as well. We live in a digital world, and so when people get the postcard, a lot of them are going to, like, we'll usually put QR codes on there, and we have the website information and things like that. But a lot of those people, they're gonna search you up online to go look at some Google reviews and see, where is the practice on a map? Like, how far is it really away from my house? And all sorts of things, before they call and schedule that appointment. And so, the direct mail is going to help you get patients into the door more quickly. But you want to have digital marketing in place so that when those people search your practice name, your competitor a few blocks over shows up first, and they're enticed to click on their post instead, and they go to their website and schedule there, and you just marketed for your competition.
Yeah.
And so that's why they really do work together. When we're seeing people who do direct mail and Google pay-per-click, I'll keep using that example. When practices are doing those two together in conjunction, we typically see around close to a 60% increase in traffic on both platforms.
Yeah.
Because your direct mail is, in every industry, really, direct mail is the number one offline tactic to drive online traffic. And so it really fits in with all of, with all the different types of marketing that you might have in place or be wanting to have in place. But for a dental practice on the digital side, you're going to have more of a response and more quick turnaround on results on Google pay-per-click than you will marketing on Meta, Facebook and Instagram. Yeah. And so that's another thing, if you're just needing to start out with a smaller budget on the digital side, start it with Google. And that's some of the stuff that we do here is, I'm a marketing consultant with Upswell. And so we work with each practice to figure out, what are your needs right now? How many new patients each month do you need to bring in to make sure that you're going to hit your goals for the year? And how can we tailor a strategy around that and allocate your marketing funds to the right channels at the right times, and allowing them to be fluid with each other too.
Yeah.
To make sure that you're getting what you need as a practice.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you mentioned that. I mean, just the direct mail is the biggest driver of offline driver of online traffic. I don't know if I said that right, but yeah, hopefully you got the gist.
Yeah.
But I mean, I get, it's so funny. So Google Fiber, property of Google, one of the biggest online companies probably ever in history, just how omnipresent they are. But I still get mailers from them all the time for Google Fiber. And it's funny because I ended up changing to Google Fiber for a few months and it was miserable. And it was just, I had a terrible experience. The connection would go down on the daily pretty much for about a month. I gave it about a month and a half, and I was like, this is just too much. And so I got rid of it, but they still send me something at least once a month, if not more. And it's some offer. But I mean, it goes to show that these big online companies are still using direct mail for that. Mm-hmm. Credit cards, you think of some of the biggest companies in the world, and they're using direct mail I'm guessing just because it's so effective, and I think it's, to your point too, as I think about it, like, yeah, if I'm doing, search ads or something like that on Google, there could be so many people searching in a day. But if I'm sending a mailer out to all these people or this huge area, and it goes out in 1 or 2 or 3 days, covers that whole area, you just get a big uptick in visibility. Immediate uptick. And I don't know where else you can find that. Digitally, it's just, I mean, maybe if you had a huge budget on multiple, digital platforms, but even then, I don't think you'd still get that same type of reach, really. But yeah, it's pretty cool how that works.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. So let me ask you this too. What uh, if I'm a dentist and we're hearing this conversation, I'm hearing you talk about things that you've seen, Brian. And I'm thinking about direct mail. What are some things that you would guide me on? I mean, you already mentioned kind of the list, you mentioned the offer, but if I'm just wanting to get started, how much time should I allocate towards a campaign? Is it just I should see something on the first one, or should I kind of plan a little bit more long term?
Yeah, absolutely. So with direct mail, it's always best to have a tentative plan for long-term consistent mailings. That doesn't necessarily mean you're mailing to the same people every month or every week, however frequently you're wanting to mail out. But keeping yourself consistently out there to your prospective patients that you're trying to have them choose you over someone else when they're due for their next cleaning or whatever the case may be. And so uh, what we always recommend, we're an agency where we don't do contracts or long-term commitments with direct mail. Uh, we just know that it it needs to be dynamic and flexible with the business's needs, and so we don't do any contracts or anything. But we always recommend at least an initial 3-month cycle of mailing, because it's really hard to mail somewhere once or to just kind of do a one and done drop and really know how effective it is. Like we already had kind of talked about, you've already seen something a handful of times before you recognize it or remember that
Yeah.
you've seen it. And for a lot of the people that you end up mailing to, that could be the case where it's one of those first couple times and they just don't bat an eye at it. They don't
Right.
have a need at that moment. But one thing that is really helpful for when it comes to direct mail and marketing in general with dental practices is that we all know that every good dental patient knows that they need to be seen at least once every 6 months.
Hmm.
And so what we like to do for a dentist getting started out is we like to look at your market area, obviously see how many homes there are with good demographics that match your target audience. And we figure out how many patients that we need to make sure we bring in to kind of develop a plan that fits with the budget and the business needs. And so, um, and so when we do that, we like to, if depending on how many homes there are in the budget and everything, we like to split the area up into groups of like 3 different groups of homes
Hmm.
and then kind of rotate through them. So, the first month we mail to this group of neighborhoods, the second month we mail to this group, third month this group. And because it usually does take with dental practices, a lot of people do schedule the next available appointment or as soon as possible, but a lot of people also schedule out. And so we usually say, give each mailing up to 60 days. That's as far as we track patients.
Okay.
That's kind of the time frame that we've found to be the most agreed upon with dentists across the country, to where if someone's seen something and they schedule their appointment after receiving the postcard, come in and complete that new patient visit within 60 days, then we would attribute it to that campaign. But what's really nice is, so if we're rotating through that, those people who maybe didn't have any interest or have any need for a dental appointment at that time, the first time you mail to them, when you come back 3 months later, it's going to be closer to that time, and if they're a good dental patient, they're going to be thinking about it, or it's going to remind them, and those are the people that you
Good
want. And
point.
so
Hmm.
so having that consistency and retargeting helps. We say a 3-month cycle in general. For dentists, really, I think a 6-month cycle is best, because then you can go to each of those groups twice and have
Yeah.
that retargeting effect and see how and you'll always see how that response rate goes up from that first mailing to the second time that those neighborhoods were targeted. So, if you have a smaller area and you need to mail to a smaller group of people, maybe more frequently, maybe you're doing it every other month in groups of 2, similar thought, but at least 3 to 6 months is really what you should give, um, a marketing venture to really start showing you the effects of it.
Yeah.
Because we are going to want to be optimizing along the way, seeing how people responded the first time we mailed to them. So how can we change up the design or the offers to make it more enticing the second time? And so that's what we recommend for all of our dentists.
Yeah. So that brought it kind of answered partially my next question, which was, okay, so is it too much to mail that same area every single month, do you think?
Yeah, so with other industries, you usually want to be hitting someone at least every month. With a dental practice, we've found that 2 to 3 month rotation to be the most effective. Um, Dentists do stand out. You're usually a local, you're local, and people are going to remember you a bit more than, there's typically not as many dentists in any one town or city as there are, like auto repair shops that are probably going to be mailing to them as well. And so the dentists usually stand out a little bit more, and people kind of remember them a little bit more quickly. And like we mentioned, everyone needs a dentist. So ev- retargeting people every 2 or 3 months is what we find to be the most effective. Um, uh, any sooner than that, we usually start hearing, the practice will call us up and say, hey, these people are getting annoyed, or
Yeah.
take us off the mailing list. And so we try to avoid doing that. But some practices are really adamant in how they want things
Yeah.
done. But
And you're not going to
that's
please everyone. I mean, it's just
yeah.
the truth of it.
Yeah, we can advise as much as possible, because we've been doing direct mail for over 18 years. We know how to set up a campaign to be as effective as possible. Our focus is your return on ad spend. That's really, as a practice owner or a dentist, that's what it ultimately is coming down to most of the time for you is how much of a good return are you getting, and are you getting good quality patients? Are you getting the patients you want?
Yeah.
Not just the number of patients, but the quality of patients that are going to be more willing to accept treatment and be able to pay for treatment, and things like that.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about kind of specifics, some tactics.
Yeah.
Let's talk about offers, because you mentioned that that's a big component, has a huge impact on the response rate.
Mhm.
So what type of offers? I know there's, if you're going for general new patient or if you're going for cosmetic, those are going to be different. But what are some? Just give us some ideas of what offers that you've seen that have been effective.
Yeah. So obviously, it can vary a little bit on practice, whether you accept insurance or not. That's always one of the first things that we ask when it comes to discussing offers is, do you accept insurance? Will you bill out of network? Those kinds of things. Uh, Generally speaking, what we want to always make sure that we have is an offer that appeals to people without insurance, and then an offer that incentivizes people who have insurance to choose you over another practice. For those without insurance, it's a little. I feel like it's more self-explanatory. You want to have a good new patient special, a low-cost new patient special to get them into the door. Um, One thing that I remind a lot of dentists is just because someone doesn't have insurance doesn't mean they're not going to be able to pay for treatment. And a lot of dentists prefer to be fee for service and not deal with the insurance if they don't have to anyways. And so the new patient special is all about getting someone into the door for that first exam where you can present a treatment plan if needed. And so we want to be competitive with the area. We do some research on the other dentists around your practice, see what are they promoting. How does that coincide with the income levels for the area? And so trying to find a good new patient special that's low cost. Uh, the next one, when it is incentivizing people who have insurance, if their exam is likely going to be free or covered,
Right.
that new patient special is not going to matter. Funny enough, most people will still see that new patient special and a low price, and that's what they'll kind of key in on, because they might not just be thinking that, oh, it could be free instead. But then when they call and schedule that appointment and they hear that their exam's going to be covered, that's even better. That's a bonus.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's true.
but for those people who are kind of thinking a step ahead about their insurance, the most effective offer is definitely whitening. A free take-home whitening kit is usually what works the best, or free whitening for life when you're keeping up with your routine cleanings.
Yeah.
That's a good one to try and focus on patient retention, keeping them coming back on time. But those are definitely the biggest ones. Um, when it comes to cosmetic or restorative care, definitely a free consultation with a discount off of accepted treatment
Yeah.
are the go-tos there.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense what you said. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of people that do have insurance, but they still are sorry, and that's not what I meant to say. There's a lot of people that don't have insurance, but are willing to pay out of pocket. I mean, it's not a, it's, yes, it's maybe a little bit more of a hurdle in general, but it's not going to prevent them from going because they still recognize the need to be seen every 6 months. So I think that's good to remember. Um, and I was going to say something about the question that came to me too is because I know we've done this on the digital side as far as offers go. There's a lot of doctors, they don't want to sound cheap. They
Mhm.
want to avoid that type of thing, discounts and that sort of thing. Because I get where you're coming from. I mean, I think the hardest part is getting them to take their first step into the office, getting them to pick up the phone and call and then physically move themselves into the office and sit in that chair is by far and away the hardest part. From there, they're usually a lot more amenable to hear any treatment recommendations that you have. Doesn't mean they'll take it, but they're in that position and the likelihood of success is far greater, right? So I'm lean more towards let's get them in the door or whatever we can do to get them in the door. But I know I do hear that a lot is from doctors. Well, I don't want to be perceived as cheap. How do you combat that?
Yeah, and you're spot on. No one likes the word free.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
I
that's
know.
that's the bane of every business owner's existence is the word free. You don't want to have to give anything out for free. And so, um, what I kind of bring up is, at least in my experience, most of these practices who are trying to avoid putting out discounts or promotions, they're wanting to instead focus on the quality of care, their reputation, and things of that nature to try and entice people to schedule there, based on those factors.
Yeah,
And what I tell those dentists is, you know, every practice is going to want to tell everyone that they provide the best service. Every other dentist around here is going to tell anyone that asks that they're the best in town, that
right.
they provide the best service, the highest quality, they have the best staff, their patients love them. All of those same things. Every dentist can easily put that message out there, and usually does. And we like to make sure to highlight some of those aspects of a practice on their direct mail piece. But if every dentist is claiming to be the best or have the best service, whatever it may be, and trying to draw people in that way, how is any one practice going to stand out more than the other if you can all make the same claims?
Right.
And so a lot of this is, you want to present that image that you are a high quality practice, and you're going to have the best care there, better than anywhere else you go to. But it really comes down to that patient experience in the office. That's where they're going to, actually feel that or not. The first step though is getting them into the door. And so that's kind of what I try to remind other dentists. Everyone wants to believe that they're the best. I believe that you're the best, and so we're going to put that out there, but we have to give people the opportunity to experience for themselves that you're the best. And that's how you're going to see real growth, because if you do give them an amazing experience and they feel truly cared for and not just another number, they're not just the next appointment on the schedule, they feel like it was a good quality visit, that's how you also get your word of mouth referrals and
Totally.
generate more awareness and traction organically through your patients. And so it really is, you have to allow yourself the opportunity to give those patients a good experience.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's kind of where I take that conversation.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point too. I mean, you really are trying to get them in there and build that relationship and deliver on that kind of red carpet experience that you talked about. And I think that's the thing to remember is how can we do that? And how can we make it easy for them to do it and try and remove as much friction as possible? And yes, I mean, I had a client that they used to do free exams and x-rays just for that reason, to make it so easy that you would be a fool not to come in and just try them out, you know? And that was part of the pitch that we made, is just, hey, we're going to remove all the friction. There's no pressure whatsoever. Like, just come in. We want to make sure it's a good fit for you. It's a good fit for us. If you don't leave, if you don't feel satisfied at the end, go ahead. Like, we're not going to hold you to it. We're not going to, put you in a headlock and get you to accept treatment or anything. It's just an easy way to come and find out what's going on inside your mouth. So it's something to think about, it's just that, how do you make that path as easy as possible? And I also like what you said too, Brian. It's just, when people are all saying the same thing, no one stands out. It's a bunch of platitudes, it's a bunch of noise. So that's a good exercise, is just get a Google sheet, or write it. If you're a pen and paper kind of guy, grab a pen, notebook, and then just list your competitor, see what they're saying on their site and in their ads, make note of kind of their offer, what their headline, just what are they putting out there? And then you can compare it to the other competitors and then see, how can I stand out and be different from all this?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a relatively simple exercise, but hardly anyone does it. And so they all end up kind of sounding the same,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
exactly. Yeah, and you want to be able to make an impression on these people.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to, is, think about when you're going through your mail, how long are you taking to look at something as you're flipping through your stack of mail? Usually only, if we're lucky, a couple seconds before you go on to the next thing, unless something catches your eye to make you keep reading. And so just kind of the same thing. If you have a stack of postcards from all the dentists in the city, and they all kind of are about, you'll have the best experience here, and saying the same thing, no one, you're not going to keep really looking at it. But as you go through and then you see free whitening, then you're going to stop and keep looking. And it's really, it's something I also like to point out to dentists is, you'd be so surprised how few people actually claim like a free take-home whitening kit.
Yeah.
It gets them to call it, but that, and there's a cost associated with it to you as the dentist to provide a take-home kit. But from what I hear, and really what all of us hear from our dentists across the country, is the majority of people don't actually claim it. If they decide to remind them about it, they're thrilled, that they still got that free take-home whitening kit. But even those who do claim it, the cost is completely worth it, because you have a new patient, and you're able to, do everything that is needed to build a relationship, present a treatment plan, have them come back a few months later, or, whatever it is, and keep them coming back. Another thing, just kind of on that I love about direct mail is, we don't like to, if we can avoid it, we try not to suppress against your established patients. The goal is to bring in new patients, but when you're mailing to everyone, your existing patients, new prospects, you're going to see your retention rate go up significantly as well, because those people and all the new patients who come in too, they had that opportunity to have a good experience from you. You provided a good experience. They see you again in a few months in their mailbox, and they know that, even if someone else sends them a good postcard, they're reminded of that good experience that they had with you. And so they're not going to take the time looking at another practice's postcard. There's a higher chance of patient loyalty and retention when mailing.
Yeah, and that makes sense too, because I mean, for most practices, once the patient leaves the office, they don't really think about them for another 6 months,
Mhm.
unless they have an upcoming appointment. And so anytime they can get, you can supplement those contacts, with them. It could be a mailer, it could be an email. There's lots of different ways,
Mhm.
but all of those help with that loyalty and that retention. I mean, that's such a good point. Such a good point. Okay, well, I've got one last question for you, Brian, before we wrap this up. And want you to kind of put your dental hat on. If you were starting a dental practice from scratch and you could only use direct mail, let's say, what would your first 90 days look like as a practice owner, and you could only use direct mail?
Yeah. So if you're a new practice owner uh, and you're starting with direct mail, depending on what your budget is for direct mail, uh, we for sure want to have general new patient saturation campaigns get started up. If there's room in the budget for it, additional new mover focused postcard campaigns. I had kind of touched on them earlier. It's a different type of design focused on you just moved into the neighborhood, welcome, having it more individually tailored. But you want to try and get those people to, to not even consider another dentist when the time comes after they're settled and moving.
Yeah.
They've already seen you a few times. They just already know who to call when that time comes to schedule their first appointment in this new place that they live. Um, but if we can only just do the general new patient or like a saturation mailing, what I like the expectation that I give dentists just starting out is it's fair to expect going in uh, with us and how we do it, one new patient per thousand pieces that goes out. And that's a conservative expectation, but that's the national industry average for the dental industry but that's when people do it consistently. That's
Yeah.
kind of the normal return for dentists. We, we feel like we really know our stuff and we are consistently well above that response rate. But getting started, or if you're a new practice, that's what I think is the fair expectation going in. One new patient per thousand pieces that goes out. And you'll see over time that response rate increase. Um, and you'll have a lower cost per acquisition, and a higher response rate over time. But so we'd want to figure out what's your with your budget or your needs. How many postcards do we need to send out to make sure that we're getting you the number of new patients that we need?
Yeah.
Um, and so, and kind of doing that math with the dentist to figure out what's going to make the most sense for the business, get them on the path that they need to be to start growing quickly, but be set up for long-term growth.
Yeah.
Uh, and so that's kind of the expectation. If you're generally speaking, the average new patient value for general dentistry is around $2,500, and that's their first year of value. Traditionally, patients are the most valuable in their first year at a practice. That's when they're able to get a new opinion, new doctor presenting a treatment plan, and they're generally more willing to accept that if there's already something going on in that first year with a new dentist. And so that's what we like to kind of use as a basis for a dentist to know what their return is going to look like and what to expect. And so uh, if if your average new patient is $2,500, how many new patients do we need to bring in to make sure that your return on investment is positive?
Yeah.
That you're getting a good return on your ad spend. Luckily, with an average patient value in that range, you don't have to get very many patients to see a return on your investment. Our baseline of success is to at least get a 2-to-1 return.
Yeah.
Dental practices in general usually see around a 10 to 12 return when they're mailing with us. Uh, and so that's the goal.
Yeah.
But the realistic expectation, if you're mailing out 5,000 pieces, we want to see at least 5 new patients. We're hoping probably 10, 15,
Yeah.
but just getting started out, that's the expectation you should have. And so is that going to be enough new business in a month to help you reach your goals? Do we need to target more, and kind of figure out what the best plan is for that practice?
Yeah, and I just want to underline what Brian just said too. I mean, you have to look at it from that long term view. I mean, yes, there's going to be some initial production from that first visit, but you really have to take this with the zoomed out approach, and just say, okay, like you said, if an average patient value is 2,500, and I want to be maybe I'm at 750,000 in production this year, or I'm trying to break 1 million this year, then really how many patients do I need? And so it's kind of working backwards and reverse engineering that, recognizing that it's not all going to come at once, and so, and like you said too, I think there's this compounding effect that after you do it and you continue to do it, it builds on each other. That's going to happen. You're going to have some people that, yeah, that they find out about your product, they see the mailer, but then forget about it, check on Google or type it in Google, and that's how they found you. And so you credit SEO or Google. I mean, there's so much overlap, but the point is that, yeah, you're hitting people in so many different ways, and it helps rise the tide for all your advertising, really. So that's awesome. That's awesome. So just keep that in mind so that you're not expecting, yeah, 2,500 per patient on the first visit. I mean, it's going to be over time, but it will, the ROI is there, the patient value is there. And so just focusing on the total lifetime value is critical. And I just want to underline that. So thanks for sharing that. So, well, Brian, I know we're kind of up against it. So I just wanted to give you a chance too, just for all those that are, well, first off, thank you for joining the show. This has been awesome. You answered a number of my personal questions, by the way, so I appreciate that. I know a lot of people probably had similar ones too. But so if people are interested and they want to learn more about Upswell, they want to learn more about what you can do for them, what's the best way to get in touch?
Yeah, so there's a handful of different ways that you can get a hold of me. Like I had said at the beginning, I pretty much specialize here in the dental industry. That's my core focus. And so I'd rather have you try and reach me rather than another one of our Upswell guys that maybe focuses more on like auto repair shops.
Right.
So if I can do a little shameless plug, I can
Yeah,
give out my
absolutely.
contact information. So my direct phone number through Upswell is 435-772-9179. You can call or text me there anytime. My email address is B as in Brian, then my last name MacKay. So BMACKAY at upswellmarketing.com. Mark, I know that you are going to be putting some of this on YouTube. Is there a way to, I have a QR code with like my contact information. Is there a way to put a thumbnail of that, or
Yeah,
put it in the comments or something? That way you can
sure.
just scan it.
Yep.
And you can reach me right away.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll have that spelled out too in your phone number and email. And then, yeah, if you want to send me the QR code, we can add that as a slide or something just so that people can stop and scan it. So that'd be great.
Awesome.
That'd be great.
Mark, I really appreciate the time. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I know I kept going and talking. Sometimes when
You're right.
I love this job. I love what I do. And
Yeah.
so sometimes when I'm talking about postcards, I can't stop. But this has been a blast.
Well, it's awesome. I mean, you can see the passion, which I love that. And like I said, I learned a bunch of stuff from today, so I really appreciate you hopping on. We'll have to have you back sometime soon.
Yes, absolutely. I would love to return.